Now to today's focus report for you, and we're reporting in fact from Lebanon today. There, 1 in 5 people is now a Syrian refugee. The country closed its borders over a year ago, and the government has introduced more restrictive procedures for the insurance of residence permits. So hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees have been forced into hiding, unable to travel or work, their children being born to undocumented parents who may become stateless. France 24's Adam Pletz and Selim El Medeb have more.
Every day, it's the same ritual. Fawaz Hamoud paces from one end to the other of this makeshift camp in northern Lebanon. There's no question of leaving, out of fear of being arrested. Like nearly all of the 300 people crammed in here, Fawaz failed to renew his residence permit last year.
We were here in the camp and the army carried out a raid. They took our Syrian ID and gave us a green piece of paper. Now, if we want papers for here, we need a Lebanese guarantor. But the guarantors want $700. So now, we're stuck in the camp.
Some Lebanese employers are willing to sponsor their Syrian employees for free. But often, potential guarantors require financial compensation. It's become a business in itself.
They're cheating us. They ask us to pay them, and then they take our money and disappear. That happened to me personally. I gave one of them $500, and he took my money and went. What can people like me do? Can an undocumented person complain?
Abi Samra, one of the poorest suburbs of Tripoli. Mohammed Talib and his family moved here to avoid army raids in refugee camps. They too have been unable to renew their papers. The result? Mohammed can't go to work as he's unable to cross army checkpoints.
For a year, my brother lived in the neighboring region of Akkar. He often called to ask me to come and see him, but I said no. I dare not to go because of the checkpoints. He's angry with me. He's my brother, and it's been a year since I've seen him.
Since they asked for a guarantor, began to thoroughly check her papers, life's changed. It's as if we're in a miniature prison.
This man, who wishes to remain anonymous, tells us how some employers take advantage of the situation to abuse the refugees. He previously lived and worked on a farm owned by a Lebanese man.
He said, OK, I'll vouch for you, but you'll have to work for nothing. In the end, it's me who decides. I will maybe only give you a small part of your pay. There are many guarantors who even ask the refugees to give their daughter in exchange for their sponsorship.
Children are often just as much the victims as their parents become undocumented. In this informal school in the Bekaa Valley, some are forced to abandon their classes to work, as the adults can't. Worse still, most of them are not officially registered in either Syria or Lebanon, so they risk becoming stateless adults. This is the case for Nora's 2 children, and with the loss of her papers, she has no way to remedy the situation.
If I don't register my children, they can't go to school, they can't study, and they won't have a true identity. It's really hard to see your children as undocumented, as people who have nothing even resembling a nationality. It's really hard.
The NGO Human Rights Watch has published a report on the consequences of restrictions on Syrians living in Lebanon, which they've asked the Lebanese government to review.
Our research shows that the policies that were put in place at the beginning of last year have actually been counterproductive. They are not protecting refugees and they are negatively affecting Lebanese. The last thing Lebanon needs is a large undocumented population living at the margins of society without legal redress.
Yet the Minister of Social Affairs argues that with the influx of refugees, stricter controls were needed. But he still stresses the tolerance of the Lebanese authorities.
Have you heard of a single Syrian deported because he could not renew his residence card? Does the Syrian issue stop at that, or are we reduced to the issue of residence cards when the blood has been flowing in Syria for 5 years under the impassive eye of the international community?
The hope of returning to Syria diminishes with the passage of time, as does the hope of a dignified future. In Lebanon, 70% of Syrian refugees live below the poverty line, and more than half are now undocumented.
Adam Pletz there reporting our team from Lebanon.